All right, crew, we are ready to start, and we have a rowdy group of attendees. We do need to know who put these on the dais because we're afraid to eat them in case they're poisoned. Oh, you did? Perfect. Definitely don't eat them. I'm just kidding. All right, it's for the supplemental budget. We got it. All right, I'm going to call tonight's meeting to order. Will the recorder please call the roll? Guess you get a list of our names.
Councillor Duggar?
I am here.
Yes, I needed a moment, thank you. Councillor Hartmeyer Prigg?
Here.
Hassan?
Here.
Councillor Kimmy? Here. Councillor Teeter?
Here.
Councillor Tivnon?
Here.
Mayor Beatty?
Here. All right, tonight we're going to go through visitor comment. We have two proclamations. We have a consent. We're going to have two public hearings, first reading, and a work session. So we will work through first visitor comments. As a reminder, visitor comments is an essential part of local government and how we do business. However, to keep us compliant with Oregon's open meeting laws, this is a time for us to listen, not a time for dialogue. If dialogue or follow-up is needed, the city recorder and the assistant city manager will take notes, and staff will follow up with you. So with that, I'd like to invite David up. David Carlson first. You have 3 minutes to address the council. Then David Whittier. Then you will have 3 minutes. It does not look like David Carlson is with us tonight. Go ahead, David. The other David.
At work?
Yes?
I'm David Witter. I'm the president of the Lewis and Clark chapter of the Sons of the American Revolution. I'm here to give you an update about the Revolutionary War Memorial that will be going into the Veterans Memorial Park. You should have in front of you a brochure. The inside of it is what's on the poster here that kind of highlights what the scope of the memorial is. Last night I provided a similar update to the Central Beaverton NAC. The goals of the memorial are to honor Americans' first veterans and other patriots that sacrificed their lives and fortunes to establish our free and independent country, and to educate visitors and future generations about America's founding principles. Last January, we worked with Tuolin Hills Park and Rec District to submit a $61,000 grant request to the Oregon Veterans and War Memorials Grant Program. That was fully funded. And so we're moving ahead with the construction of the memorial. The first part of that construction will be a concrete pad and foundations for the tablets that are part of the memorial, and that will be completed within the next month. Then in the spring, the tablets and the benches that go into the memorial will be placed there, and we will be dedicating the memorial on April 19th, 2026. That's Patriots Day. It'll be the 251st anniversary of the battle in Lexington and Concord that really started the revolution. So we're very pleased to, after working on this for 17 years, to have this memorial come to fruition. So this has only come together because we worked over all these years with Legion Post 124, Tuolin Hills Park and Rec, and with City. So we appreciate the support, and we hope you'll all join us for that dedication on April 19th. Thank you.
Awesome, thank you. And just for everyone's edification, the Veteran Memorial Park, the property is owned by the city, but it is maintained through an MOU by THPRD, and the American Legion has final say of monuments and controls the layout of monuments. And so it does, it's a three-way partnership, and it takes sometimes a lot of effort to get things done, but the American Legion feels very strongly about making sure that memorials that are placed have significant value to the veteran community and to Beaverton as well. So thank you for your hard work on this.
Thanks.
Okay, we have two proclamations tonight. The first one, Councilor Hartmeyer Prigg is going to read. It's Native American Heritage Month.
Whereas the city of Beaverton is committed to cultivating a sense of belonging as a fundamental aspect of a healthy, thriving community, and whereas the heritage and contributions of Native Americans help make Oregon economically, culturally, spiritually, and ecologically stronger. And whereas the city recognizes that the area currently known as Beaverton rests on native lands and was originally home to the Otfalati tribe, a band of the Kalapuya, who at present are part of the Confederated Tribes of Grand Ronde, since time immemorial, and who call the area Chicapee, or Place of the Beaver. And whereas the legacy of colonization, genocide, disease, forced relocation, and erasure has had lasting impacts on the Native American community. And whereas the current Native population of Washington County is composed of people belonging to a multitude of indigenous nations and is estimated to be at least 10,437 people, a significant figure, but much lower than what it would have been had it not been for the aforementioned offenses. And whereas the city and other institutions have much work to do to repair the history of oppression and disenfranchisement of Native peoples, and to develop active partnerships with tribal nations, government, to strengthen Oregon and help build a future of hope and promise for all. And whereas public institutions in Beaverton should work together to increase the visibility of Native Americans and their contributions, offering every opportunity to embrace culturally significant customs and regalia in public spaces, as well as incorporating Native American heritage within public place naming. And whereas the month of November is a time to celebrate the rich and diverse cultures, to raise awareness about our shared history, and to acknowledge the important and continued contributions of the Native American community today. Now, therefore, the City Council of the City of Beaverton do hereby proclaim November 2025 as Native American Heritage Month in the City of Beaverton and encourage all residents to observe this month.
Thank you, Counselor. Well, I think we have a room full of celebrities with us today. As the mayor, on occasion, I get to do really cool things. Mostly it's around cutting ribbons and celebrating people's success. And tonight, we get to celebrate the Murray Hill Little League All-Star team. Now, you probably don't know this about me, but I coached college sports. So I coached George Fox to a women's national championship. So I know personally how hard it is and the amount of work that your coaches did and your management, and mostly to your parents who took you to every practice and every game, and the monumental amount of effort it took for you guys to be here. I even watched a bit of it online. And we have a proclamation for Manager Ryan, Coach Colin, Coach Rob, and for the awesome dudes that won it: Cameron, Deacon, Wyatt, Brock, Derek, Cameron, Lane, Briggs, Bentley, Aiden, Tiago, and Logan. You guys also get an award for the coolest names ever, and you sound like little baseball dudes. So I'm going to read our proclamation, but I want you to remember, one day when one of you make it to Major League Baseball, please call me and let me throw out the first pitch, all right? So this is a proclamation from the Office of the Mayor. Whereas the Murray Hill Little League All-Stars have represented Beaverton with pride, heart, and sportsmanship during the 2025 season, and whereas these young athletes achieved an extraordinary milestone by winning both the district and state championships, earning the honor of representing Beaverton and the state of Oregon at the Little League World Series Regionals, and whereas the team journey to the championship final showcased grit, teamwork, and a deep love for the game, inspiring our entire community. And whereas beyond their athletic accomplishments, the players, the coaches have demonstrated kindness, respect, and dedication on and off the field, uniting our community and reminding us of the power of youth sports to build character, friendship, and civic pride. And whereas the Murray Hill Little League All-Stars have served as true ambassadors for our city, setting an example for future generations of young athletes in Beaverton, now I, Lacey Beatty, Mayor of the City of Beaverton, do hereby proclaim recognition and celebration for the 2025 Murray Hill Little League All-Stars for their outstanding achievement and for representing Beaverton on a significant national stage. And if you're cool with it, the council would love to take a photo with you so we can have it in the future. How's that sound? All right.
Guys can shake hands with the mayor.
Thank you, dudes. Have a good evening. I know, I didn't, yeah. Maybe they'll let me throw out a first pitch and I won't embarrass myself. Excuse me, I can throw a baseball. When I threw it out for the hops, Ian made me practice every single day. All right, we are on to consent agenda. I do know, did they give you a direction to correct it?
Want me to ask?
So there's an error in the minutes saying that Counselor Hassan was at a meeting she wasn't. Do we need to pull it from the consent, or can we make like a friendly amendment?
Meeting, so it's up to you.
Well, it was just caught. Could we, what's the best way to handle it? Okay. Is it which meeting?
September 9th.
September 9th? Okay. So Council
I'm
President.
sorry, which year? Because we have September for
September 9th,
2024.
2025
Thank
meeting.
you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Council President, if you could present the consent minus the meetings of September 9th, 2024.
I move to approve the consent agenda, except September 9th, 2025 council minutes.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion on tonight's consent? All right, seeing none, will the recorder call the roll?
Counselor Duggar,
Yes.
Counselor Hartmeyer Prick,
Yes.
Counselor Hassan,
Yes.
Counselor Kimmy,
Yes?
Counselor Teeter,
Yes.
Counselor Tivnon,
Yes.
Mayor Beatty.
Yes. Okay, so we need to take the minutes of September 9th, so we probably, is the proper way to bring it and then in the discussion say there needs to be an amendment, or can he just make a motion with the amended?
I think because all we're doing is fixing it to reflect.
Okay, sounds good. All right. With that, we are going to head into our public hearings. All right, we'll do the public hearings first. Yep. The next item on the agenda is a public hearing regarding a resolution adopting a supplemental budget for fiscal year commencing July 1st, 2025, and making budget appropriations. Anyone wishing to speak at this hearing should follow the instructions included on tonight's agenda. For those in person, please complete a yellow visitor card found at the table near the doors of the back of the council chamber and give the card to the city recorder seated to my right at the end of the dais. Each member of the public will have 3 minutes to speak. When you speak, please give your name, city of residence for the record. Council members may ask questions of any presenter, the city attorney, or staff that will help the council member make a decision. Is there a staff presentation?
So what we have tonight is the first supplemental budget of the year. It's mostly technical adjustments. We're making adjustments to beginning working capital of all of our funds. That's, as we close the books, now we have a better number. We're carrying over some unspent grant funds, some carryover and additional funding for some of our capital improvement program, and adjustments to personnel related to a reorganization in our Public Works Department, and then adding some appropriation for items that weren't planned during the budget development, so that come up since we passed the budget. So that is what is in front of you today.
Any
Happy to answer
questions
any
of the
questions.
presenter? All right, seeing none, I will open up the public hearing. City Recorder, is there anyone here wishing to testify?
No one in person or online.
All right, well then I will close the public hearing, fastest public hearing ever. What is the pleasure of the council? Anyone?
I move that the council adopt Resolution 4933, a resolution adopting a supplemental budget for the fiscal year commencing July 1, 2025, and making budget appropriations.
Second.
It's been moved by Councilor Hassan and seconded by Council President. Do we have any discussion on tonight's motion? Seeing none, will the recorder please call the roll?
Counselor Duggar,
Yes.
Mayor Beatty,
Yes.
Counselor Tivnon. I didn't
Yes.
hear her.
Sorry.
Thank you. Counselor Hartmeyer Prigg,
Yes.
Counselor Teeter,
Yes.
Counselor Hassan,
Yes.
Counselor Kimmy,
Yes.
7 yes, 0 no.
All right, the next item on the agenda is a public hearing on ordinance number 4873, an ordinance amending Beaverton Code Section 4.04.060, 4.06.010, and 4.06.020, repealing BC 4.04.065 and 4.06.030 relating to sewer and storm water drainage utility charges. Anyone wishing to speak at this hearing should follow the instructions included on tonight's agenda. For those attending in person, please complete a yellow visitor comment card found at the table at the back of the township chamber and give it to the city recorder who's sitting at the end of the dais to my right. Each member of the public will have 3 minutes to speak. When you speak, please give your name, city or residence for the record. Council members may ask questions of the presenter, the city attorney, or staff if it will help them make a decision. Is there a staff presentation? You again. All right.
Causing inefficiencies within the accounting team. So back in 2005, we implemented a surcharge so that we would have enough funding to maintain our sewer and storm drain systems. And in 2008, the surcharge became unnecessary essentially because we split the rates into a regional rate and a local rate. Before that, it was one rate, and then we had a surcharge on top of that. And so this is just something that, as an accounting department, we have to manage. We have to reconcile it every year. We have to account for it, and it is audited. So this will allow us to not have to do that anymore. And I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Any questions from the city council? Seeing none, I will now open up the public hearing. Is there anyone dying to address the council this evening?
I don't know about dying. I know there is no one online or in person to testify during this hearing.
All right, just a little spooky humor for October. I will now close the public hearing. What is the pleasure of the council?
I move that council adopt an ordinance amending Beaverton Code BC Section 4.04.060, 4.06.010, and 4.06.020, repealing BC 4.04.065 and 4.06.030 relating to sewer and stormwater drainage utility charges.
Second.
All right, it's been moved by Council President, seconded by Councilor Duggar. Any discussion from the city council? Counselor Hartmeyer Prigg.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to say thank you for this because we love the efficiency, right? So I just think it's great. I know it takes time to get a public hearing together, to change code and all the things, but just a great like cleanup thing, right? To add to for efficiency for your team. So thank you.
With that, will the recorder please call the roll? Yes.
Counselor Tivnon.
Yes.
Thank you. Counselor Teeter.
Yes.
Counselor Kimmy.
Yes.
Counselor Hassan.
Yes.
Counselor Duggar.
Yes.
Counselor Hartmeyer Prigg.
Yes.
7 yes, 0 no.
All right, the next item on the agenda is the first reading of an ordinance. On November 18th, 2025, during a regularly scheduled city council meeting, a public hearing will be held regarding an ordinance amending Beaverton Code, section 2.05.026, related to special disposition of other personal property. All right, we are making a land speed record, and we are on to our work session. This next item on the agenda is a work session regarding the Beaverton Climate Action Plan Update Project. We will begin with Kevin and our sustainability program manager, Scott. And if you want to take over, this is it. Remember, we're like kind of nerds. We kind of get the thing, so just keep that in mind, because I know you guys get technical with us.
Good evening. I'm Kevin Boylan. I'm the Sustainability Analyst with the city, and we are back tonight with an update on the Climate Action Plan Update Project. Tonight, we're going to look at anticipated improvements to the plan's structure that will allow for the inclusion of measurable objectives and strategies. As we look at the new structure, I think it's probably good to keep in mind that these have been designed to reduce emissions, to prepare for the impacts of climate change, and to be responsive of what we have heard from the community. We've aimed to create a flexible plan that speaks to community concerns and supports bold climate action, but also recognizing concerns around shifting priorities and resources. So we have intentionally tried not to be too overly prescriptive in order to allow for adaptable ongoing work. As I run through these slides, I think I'd like you all to just keep in mind the questions we'll have for you at the end, which is whether you have comments or considerations on the revised structure, on the objectives and strategies, or on the next steps. So in previous conversations with you all, we've looked at how emissions in the community are driven primarily by transportation, by building energy use, and by consumption of materials and goods. We've also looked at how future conditions in Beaverton and the region will have social, health, and property impacts. And throughout the project, we've been focusing on engaging with the community to find out what's important to them. Last time we were here, we shared survey results from a survey that reached almost 700 folks. We recently completed a series of 7 community conversations where we heard from youth, renters, low-income households, seniors, and a host of other individuals about what's important for them and how they see themselves fitting into this plan. We also held half a dozen workshops with partners and half a dozen workshops with staff. And all the while, we've been engaging with the city's Climate Action Task Force on this project. So you put all of those ingredients into the funnel over there, and the juice that comes out the bottom is these draft objectives and strategies. So these objectives and strategies fit into a revised structure that has a clear hierarchy, starting at the top with focus areas. And within each focus area, there will be measurable objectives defined, which are achieved through strategies, and then each of those having specific activities that fall below them. These objectives can be thought of as the desired change that we're seeking to. Strategies as the approaches by which we will achieve them, and then the activities, the specific tasks. This structure corrects the issue of one long categorized list of actions that we have in the current plan, with specific activities in the plan being illustrative so as to not pigeonhole certain projects or programs into these rigid ideas that might change over time, allowing flexibility to contribute to meeting the defined strategies towards progress on measurable objectives. So all of this will allow the city to be more adaptive and to pivot as needed to account for changing resources and opportunities, but at the same time not lose accountability to the overall goal or the ability to track our progress. Just as an example here on the side of the slide, we see a focus area of transportation, an objective, which again is the desired change, more people walking, biking, or taking train trips. Strategies to achieving that objective would be enhancing safe, accessible infrastructure that encourages people to walk, bike, and roll with confidence. And one of the many activities that could contribute to that strategy would be something like installing bike racks so people have. So we've identified 6 focus areas, and if you look at the 2019 plan, or the inventories, or the future conditions study, none of this is exactly groundbreaking. Focus areas address where emissions are coming from in the gray boxes, address how to adapt to future impacts in the green boxes, and address how to strengthen our systems and processes at the city to enable climate action to occur. Blue box. Now that all of those boxes look like a shape. We're going to go through them here. So starting with buildings and energy, you can imagine this deals with reducing energy consumption from buildings, which from the greenhouse gas inventories are the source of nearly half, I think 48%. So here we have 2 objectives, one focused on energy consumption and energy use intensity being reduced, and the other one focused on buildings using. These are achieved through the strategies noted below each. These are shortened representations. The next focus area is transportation. We just saw this first objective a second ago. More people walk, bike, or take transit for shorter trips. I also wanted to put in a reminder that transportation is source of nearly the other half of all local emissions. And 80% of those are from passenger vehicles. We see a focus on these 2 objectives, driving for short trips in favor of active transportation. And more people walking, biking, or taking transit for shorter trips. And there you have density and mixed-use development, allowing for access to services being a key piece, along with transit access and safe and reliable infrastructure that allows. Driving does make more sense for a trip. We want to make sure that it is not continuing to increase emissions, so we have objective 2, which is focused on the use of access to technology. In the consumption and materials focus area, we see a large focus on food, and that's because food is one of the largest categories of imported emissions. All of cooking and preparing and disposal of food leads to a lot of emissions. Here we see a focus on reducing wasted, landfilled, and carbon-intense food, and we also have a second objective looking at further shifting community practices towards material use. More sustainable choices in general when it comes to purchasing inside this building. And so those were the 3 focus areas that deal with greenhouse gas mitigation. These next 2 focus on preparing for and adapting to future conditions. You'll recall that those future conditions are going to mean more days over 90 degrees, hotter and drier summers in general, and the potential for worsening air quality, as well as more intense winter storms and the associated potential flooding and ice events that come with those. In any emergency or in a situation of ongoing shock and stress, community connectivity is essential. And so this objective seeks to have the community empowered to stay safe, healthy, and connected as the climate does change. It focuses on having accessible resources to help folks prepare and cope for expected changes, some of which we are already experiencing. In addition to social resilience, we have a focus area that focuses on infrastructure resilience, with one objective looking at natural and green infrastructure and another looking at built infrastructure. Both of these are about having systems in place that leave the community prepared for a changing future. So we have natural infrastructure being used to cool neighborhoods, manage water, support biodiversity, and improve quality of life. This means things like strengthening the quality of the urban canopy, of parks, and of natural areas that provide those essential services of cooling, shade, mental and physical respite, habitat, all of that good stuff. Along with this, green infrastructure that helps manage runoff and water infiltration and water quality. And then over there on the right, we have an objective that focuses on improving energy resilience and ensuring that proper facilities are in place to help folks in need during the times of these extreme events. Lost my here. So well. And last but certainly not least, we have a focus area dedicated to improving organizational capacity and carrying out climate action work in Beaverton. This first objective here, this is about the climate lens that we've been discussing for some time now. It's about making sure climate considerations are institutionalized into all city work, with projects, policy, decisions, investment, all aligning with our broader climate goals. It also calls out a strategy to develop and secure funding mechanisms to support climate action efforts, which is something more and more local governments obsessed with. The second objective seeks to ensure that the most impacted and vulnerable to the impacts of climate change are supported by the city's work. And the third objective focuses on improving staff capacity to engage the community in this work, making our efforts more transparent and accessible, and having feedback loops in place to improve them over time. So in summary, we've moved towards a plan with an improved structure, creating a clear hierarchy that makes it easier to show how city work contributes to long-term climate goals. We now have clear objectives supporting strategies which will be assigned indicators for measurement and reporting, and these have all been crafted to be responsive to current conditions, expected future impacts, and balanced with what we've heard from the community as important to them in order to gain clarity, flexibility, and alignment within the organization. We will be back in December with a draft plan showing all these great things and things like how we're going to measure this, who the leads on different objectives and strategies are going to be, what the co-benefits are to different aspects of the plan, and we are going to continue working towards adoption of a revised plan in early 2026. But for tonight, we just want to leave with these questions. It's really one question and kind of a choose your own adventure, and whether or not you have any comments or considerations shared about the revised structure, about the objectives and strategies, or about the next steps.
Right. We had a race to go first. Councilor Hartmeyer-Prigg.
It's like an online thing, right? First. Thank you so much for the presentation. I'll be the thinker tonight since I'm going first. Okay. So thank you. I had a couple of questions. For what we see in like the presentation in the packet, we see like do more of or reduce, right? But the objectives will have like a measurable like there'll be some sort of percentage increase or decrease, or instead of just install bike racks, maybe there's a target amount? Is that what we would see in that future BCAP?
So we've planned on the objective level having an indicator that allows us to measure our progress towards that objective. As far as a target goal or percentage for all of these, there's certain strategies in your list and what we reviewed that have been scaled by the consultant who's developing the plan to indicate their potential at reducing emissions. So they come with like high and low potential, thank you. And so yes, there is kind of like some numbers or some targets within them of like, oh, if we go all the way to the high side, this is what it would look like, or this is the low scenario.
Okay, so there'd kind of be ranges of progress that we want to fall in that range somewhere, right? Like we want a measurable difference
Yes.
with these things. Great.
Yeah.
I really like this structure, and I'm excited to see like how it fills out and comes together too, because the last one was kind of overwhelming, right? There was so many things, and then it made it hard to know what we were doing or what we'd made progress against, or some of the things were so specific that then when we did things like installed a microgrid at the Public Safety Center, like how did that show up in the story, right? But that was huge. That was huge. Mayor and I were talking about that the other day, and like that's a really incredible thing that the city did for resiliency, for power, for all kinds of things against our climate goals. And so I think that this structure is going to really help us make progress in a different and meaningful way. So I'm really excited about that. And then I used to be the liaison to the Climate Action Task Force, but I wasn't during this set of process. So I was just kind of curious, how did that engagement go? And are there fingertips all over this and kind of the direction that it's going?
Yeah, I mean, we started this process last summer, I think, and they've been involved throughout. They were involved in the scoping of the revised plan, and then, yes, they've given feedback along the way.
Okay, thank you both.
Counselor Teeter.
Thank you both. I've got a couple questions, 2 questions. The first, I'm not sure where it fits. It might fit in the building energy focus area, but I'm thinking about property energy consumption. So that would include like landscaping practices, like things that are outside of the shell of a building. Is that something that we should be focused on here in a focus area, or is there a reason why we might just want to focus on only buildings rather than the rest of the land on the property? Do you two have any feedback there?
I would say the reason that the buildings and energies category is its own focus area is just because of the amount of emissions that come from it. So yeah, there are like associated impacts from other things that occur on the property, but they're not to the scale of the heating and cooling of space and water.
Okay. So one of the reasons why I asked that question is because I feel like or maybe we get emails quite often about gas-powered lawn equipment. So that's kind of the inspiration for that question. I'm not sure where it fits. I can definitely tell that building energy would have a higher impact, but that's just kind of where my train of thought is going there. Scott, is there anything else you want to add there?
No, I think Kevin's right in the for the most part, the largest energy consumption that we're going after is from the building itself. And there may be some co-benefits or some other aspects of reasons to do other things, like in the topics that you mentioned that you get comments about. Won't necessarily be a big climate impact, but maybe something for other environmental sustainability reasons you would choose to do.
Okay, okay, thank you. And then my other question is, or this is more of a comment, the transportation strategy, the 1.3, mentions safe and comfortable being priorities there. I would love us to add the word useful. Just safe and comfortable are great, but they need to get you somewhere efficiently and where you want to go. So that's my only comment there. Overall, I love the structure and the framework. I think we're off to a really good start, or most of the way through now. But I'm excited to talk metrics and indicators in December, but this is really good, so thank you.
Thank you. Counselor Hessen.
Yes, thank you very much for this work. I'll start with a comment and then a couple questions. First of all, I just really love seeing the concept of institutionalizing this as much as possible. I think that's like the hot word for me, and it really just made me excited to talk about how do we institutionalize a lot of these policies and processes. One thing when I'm looking at this, I have like two lenses, is like what's the city's role and what's the community's role. And so I just wonder, as we move rolling this out publicly, if we can start helping decipher like what the city's role is in this and what the community's role, right? Certain objectives fall on us, certain objectives fall on the community. So just as you're like ideating how this will roll out, I think it's really critical because I can't control, Nadia Hessen cannot control building energy, buildings the way that the city can. So I just was really thinking about that as I was reading through and like helping the average person know what they realistically can do that is within their realm to be able to do versus what's not. I am curious on that note, as I was looking at transportation, I noticed that we said like our goal is promoting the use of renewable diesel in public and private fleets. Is there any policy opportunities or areas where we can have more efficiency with our fleet usage in terms of how often our cars are being used, whether they're police cars, storm, public works cars, and are we thinking of efficiencies with those kinds of vehicles that are out on the roads?
Yes, we do have a role in that. We have worked with the fleet staff in Public Works. A couple of years ago, adopted a new fleet policy and are slowly trying to get that implemented to kind of guide what we do and how we do it. And that kind of starts with how many vehicles we have. I think Public Works is doing or has completed a study that will address what our overall vehicle need use are, and then the type of fueling kind of comes after that as vehicles are replaced.
Okay, and I would assume we're doing the same with the police vehicles as well. Do we have any policies around like leaving cars on? It's something I've heard in schools where like people leave their cars on and that can cause pollution for students. Has there been ever conversation about something like
I
that?
believe we have an anti-idling policy that guides the frequent drivers of vehicles on when to turn them off and not just leave them idling.
Okay, because that's the other thing that comes to my mind is like, again, what's our role as a city in terms of like our policies and our employees and what we should be doing within, and then also when I'm out at the school and trying to turn off my car if I can.
Right. We can check with Public Works afterwards to confirm that, but I know we used to, and I assume we still do.
Okay. And then do you see any like, and I don't know if codification is the right word or like actual ordinance opportunities. Like I love me a good plan, but I love some accountability around that plan. And so are we thinking about ways to make that happen, or what would that look like? Or you can get back to me.
Yeah, we think accountability is something that needs to happen. Measurement, metrics, they're all kind of there. We want to measure how successful are we doing and whose responsibility is it to do that. So kind of your first comment about who's responsible for what.
Yeah.
Kind of links to this, and we are trying to deal with both of those so that the eventual plan will have some metrics that will tell us how we're doing.
Okay.
And we anticipate having that being visible much more regularly and more frequently than it has been under the previous plan, with an online dashboard that you can kind of look and see how are we doing and in what areas do we need to do more.
I just went back to we don't have to go back, but the activities level.
Yes.
So there's going to be illustrative activities in the plan, and where it makes sense, yes, if there's like specific city action or ordinance, we could list that as an illustrative activity.
Okay, so I want to empower you, and I want us to empower you, that if you feel there are things that we should be doing from a policy or ordinance perspective, assuming our Climate Action Task Force members are on board and it seems something that we can do, that I want us to really move in that direction. And if it's like a fight between the Public Works and police on policies and whatever, and it's not a fight, but it's like, just getting us into like better habits of like how we're using cars and how we're being efficient with our cars, because we are also a responsible partner of fleet in the city, I think that would be really helpful. So thank you very much.
Counselor Duggar.
Thanks for this. Just a quick quick comment on everyone's right, the hierarchy is great, fantastic job, much better than the old one. Councilor Hartman-Prigg brought up a measure of impact of emissions. I would also like to see that, but also a measure of difficulty in implementing, because I think when you talk about how impactful something is, but if it's really hard to implement, then I think we've got to put it through that lens as well, so I would just add that. My main question is, how does this plan, or what are you thinking about broader regional partners, right? Every level of government, I think, is coming up with a climate action plan, right? The county, our neighbors, our special districts, the state has one, no doubt. Metro has one. How are we integrating this, or how are we thinking about our plan? Where does it fit in with those regional partners? Because if I'm a Beaverton resident, right, I'm going to have the city telling me, the county, I've got my special districts, the school district. How are you guys thinking about that?
We've tried to coordinate with many of those groups. Kevin mentioned kind of the workshops that we did, the 6 community workshops that did involve a lot of our community partners, everywhere from the state to Metro to the county to special districts to school districts and other private community organizations, Chamber of Commerce, realizing that it takes all of these groups to kind of carry out their role in order to make climate action happen. One of the things that we did not do very well in the first plan was kind of, after the plan was adopted, continue to engage with them. Some of that was because 4 months after we adopted it, we went into a period of COVID and everything that happened there, and everybody was distracted for a very long time. But we want to fix that this time with some ongoing just coordination and communication with those partners beyond just the workshop that they did, but have ongoing communication with them.
So you answered part B of that question, so that was great. I would love to see us align, and particularly on how we message that out to the community, in particular with what we're doing and our partners. Last thing, more of a kind of question, comment, both. We haven't been the best at communications in the city. Like, it is really, really hard. And what I don't want to do is have this really fantastic new plan that we all believe in, that no one knows exists and sits on a website somewhere and doesn't get the impact that it deserves. So I don't know if it's a supplemental or what, but I really hope we're thinking about how we're going to communicate this out. And then as a sub to that, like, we have some really great institutional resources, things like our NACs, right, our neighborhood program. Like, how are they helping us engage with once this plan is enacted, right? I briefly spoke to Kevin at this past week. Things like neighborhood swaps, right? If we want to reduce consumption, that's that lowest level, right? Like, that's an action item, but that's something that we could templatize and institute pretty quickly using existing resources for pretty much very limited cost, right? Like, if we do those things. So I want to make sure that this isn't like a gold polish plan that sits on a website that no one sees, that we're actually thinking about practical ways for us to use existing infrastructure and existing resources to implement it. Fantastic work, gentlemen.
Thanks. And just
appreciate all this.
on the communications aspect of that, I met last week with Nicole, our new communications manager, division manager, and we're going to have a follow-up meeting in the next week or two to kind of talk about some of the things and how communications and sustainability and the climate action plan can work more effectively in the future.
Awesome. Councilor Kimmy.
Thank you for presentation. Scott, you got tanned. Did you have a great summer? How do you communicate with our future developments? We have a great opportunity at Cooper Mountain in the future. Do we talk to CDD, and how, that's what everybody was talking about, changing codes, implement this climate action plan into new developments that's going to go in next decade? Any conversations with our development department?
The development division has been involved in the staff workshops that went into forming the basis of the plan. For the Cooper Mountain Development Project specifically, they visited the Climate Action Task Force many times over several years, and we had extensive conversations about natural resources and about transportation and many other things.
Right. Does any of that actually make changes to our building codes and development strategies that you see?
I don't want to speak out of turn about building code, but building code, I'm pretty sure, is determined by the state.
Well, yeah, well, the point I'm getting at is we have this plan, and we have an opportunity to make real changes next decade in our new Cooper Mountain that's going to come along, right? And whatever plan that if we are not really implementing it in our code changes or whatever we can, right, then we just have a plan, right? So that was my gist of my question. What are the actual changes that city have made in our code that is actually meaningful implementation of our plan?
Let me save a friend here for you guys, because I think I could answer that. So part of what happened during all the code revision is when Governor Brown was in office, she instituted LCDC and set statewide climate goals, like no parking minimum, which you were not a fan of, if you remember that meeting. So the state set a bunch of code for us on setback, how things were, and so all of our planners had to divert their energy from things that the council really wanted, like work on sidewalks, a tree code, to go work on the state code. Most of the major cities sued the state because they said, you're overstepping your boundaries by telling us what to do. But the governor at the time felt so strong that we have to address these climate goals. She put in a statewide thing. So, last week during our conversation with THPRD board members, when they kept talking about parking, well, we can't require them to put in, we can't do those things anymore. So much of what's been changed in the code was dictated by the state rules. And now that I think all those codes have been implemented, I think they'll have capacity to work on some things we'd like. How's that for a save a friend?
Great
There
answer.
you go.
Thank you.
Wonderful. So that's answered. Thank you.
Yeah, no sweat. Here to help.
Another question is, I think I mentioned it during our climate task force meeting, where as an individual business owner or homeowners or the resident of Beaverton, I would love to participate and make some changes at the individual level, right? But then we don't know what to do, basically. What are the changes that we can do at home, small things that can actually contribute to saving the earth? And is there any plan to engage, not just listen to the community, but teach what they can do at home? And has that ever done, or do you have a plan to do that?
I'm reading Scott's face. Go ahead about your newsletter you send out to every household.
I was going to say that we are looking for ways to, within the plan, show how you fit into the plan, right? Because to just have a plan that you don't fit into, that's what we've heard in these community conversations and talking with folks, is that they'd like to know how they fit in. Like sometimes they do and sometimes they don't, depending on the actions. So yeah, we're looking forward to creating resources for them in order to show what their role can be to helping the city, the community, let's say, meet its goals.
I'd love to see that actually happening in the Beaverton, in the farmers market or whatever, that we can go out there, show them, and then what we can do in our individual level. Yeah, thank you.
Councilor Tivnon.
Thank you. I won't repeat a lot of what the other counselors said, but Councilor Duggar, completely agree with him about the communications part of this and really getting the word out, not only when it's done, but in the lead up to it, of soliciting people's thoughts and feelings. I'd love to see the business community play a big part in this, because I can see them playing a big part in the goals behind this in all sorts of ways. I'd love to see some case studies on other cities if that work has already been done, and is exhausted and over. Okay, but I think this is just a constantly building a better mousetrap conversation in cities all over the world, and just making sure that we are continuing to steal all the good ideas so that we can bring them home to Beaverton. And the other area that I immediately go to, and I think specifically about the transportation section, is that so many of our neighborhoods are big with no types of commercial within them. They're all homes. And if you live deep into one of those neighborhoods and you're not in a state physically where you can ride a bike or walk to the nearest transit stop, it kind of cancels out the idea of being able to do that more than just once in a while as a viable option of getting anywhere. And I say that because I think that there's additional work that the council or future councils could do to think about incorporating more small hub businesses within our neighborhoods and loosening up zoning in ways that's going to help create more feasibility about getting people out of their cars. I don't know how much wagging the dog you can do in a document like this to kind of try and spur councils to think and prioritize maybe shifting and moving in those directions. But then also just thinking about TriMet and Ride Connect and first last mile, the shuttle ideas that we've heard kind of ping-ponged around of if we can't get the buses into the neighborhoods, can we get shuttles into them? Because I do think that we're going to continue to bang our heads against the wall getting people out of their cars when we live in a community like we do, where we have such large neighborhoods that there's no amenities within them other than homes, parks, schools. But they have to go to the grocery store, they go grab a cup of coffee or whatever, go to the dentist. They have to get in a car, or they have to slog, or they have to be fit enough to ride a bicycle. And so it just, I think it's always going to make that particular area really hard for us to achieve. So I guess my ask there is to challenge the council, say like, we could do this if this was different a little bit, but also what are some other communities that are similar to ours doing to get around that, since the greenhouse gas emission is such a huge part of this from cars. So, but I to Councilor Hartmeyer-Prigg's point, I love the new structure. I love that we're turning this into something that is going to be implementable. And thank you for your work on this so far.
All right. Well, I thank you for the plan. I mean, I think Scott kind of nailed it, that the plan that was written was in the last form of government with the last mayor during a global pandemic and a shift in fighting for resources and time and attention when everything was figuratively and literally burning to the ground. We instituted a climate action task force, like right in the middle of your plan, and the previous administration was well known for wanting lofty things with no timeline. So this plan is a reflection, I think, of a lot of feedback and work, and your guys' how much your team has grown over the years. So I really appreciate that. I think having grown up in California, we often put a lot of emphasis on end users and families, like reduce, reuse, recycle. You're a big piece of the plan, and we're starting to take this bigger shift towards other people need to participate, right? Which is why we're seeing, the state law around end users and those things. So I think you're trying to strike this balance between, we recognize that businesses and industry have a gigantic impact, yet we often only talk to households and tell them to make sure they put their mixed recycling away the right way. So I see the teetering balance of the work that you guys are trying to do and the mass impact. We know that kind of the biggest contributor is building, so it makes sense that we spend a lot of time on that. But I don't want to miss Councilor Teeter's point, like two-stroke gas engines have a massive emissions issue, which is why so many cities have worked to ban them. Personally, I've been on the record many times. I would love to see something like that. I'd love us to host some kind of electric gas blower, lawnmower day where we invite companies to come in, because between THPRDs, the school, the city, we mow a lot of things, and residents. And we know technology is changing really relatively quickly. And I think we're sensitive to individual business owners turning things over, but that happens so often. Councilor Husson made a really good point about our own internal fleet, and we are butted up against a fleet manager that is bound and determined to get every mile out of every vehicle, and often our vehicles are older than other cities. And I think that is a different way of addressing climate, because if we sell a gas car for an electric car, that car is still in the ecosystem. If we could get more life out of our vehicles, but I think that goes back to the other points that you heard around storytelling. We have, and I'm pretty sure Nicole is taking feverious notes back there. We have done so many things to address climate. So it's challenging for me when I hear from people that we're doing nothing as a city, when we have one of the only microgrids. We have the only hydropower pump station. We have all these indigenous trees we plant. We have done so many things, but we don't talk about it. And so this plan is really great, and I think we need a balance of going forward in the plan, but also telling the community what we've invested in. Underground ASR wells is a huge climate thing that we do, and we're one of the best in the state at doing it. And we're low-key awesome, but we don't ever tell people, purple pipe, all these things. It matters. So I want to, but in the newsletters we get, or what the social media posts we say, are often focused on end user. I think we need a balance of teaching people how to participate and also letting them know what we as the city are doing, because we are doing phenomenal things. And I'm very proud of the work, the climate work the city's doing. We just need to let other people besides the 7 of us know. So thank you for joining us this evening. All right, council, we are on to council new business. I do have a bit of an update for you, and I think Elizabeth probably sent an email about the county commission's vote to move the library levy forward without addressing Beaverton's concerns. We had some incremental growth over the 5 letters, 6 if we count the last one that I sent. I think they understand Beaverton's concern, but I think for them, the entire system, and a lot of what I get is that it was tried to address too short. I think I'm working on an op-ed right now that I think I would like council to sign on to, but it would be a sign-on, no redlining issue, so I'll send it out. But I think we have this responsibility to tell the residents that we have gone to the mat trying, but this is a 68% increase that is going to lead to cuts in our library system. And I want voters to have that decision when they go to vote. I don't want them to feel like we led them, because we're going to be the ones that have to make the hard decision about the library. We're going to be the face of what that looks like to our community. And so I want them to have this information, because the ballot title says you're getting increased services by voting yes. So if you're at home and you're not watching city council meetings, which no one does besides my kids, they're going to vote with the assumption they're going to get increased library services in Beaverton. And so I think we need to just tell them that we've tried. I mean, Elizabeth and I speak fluent WCCLS now, and I'm pretty sure her and I will be banned from any building that's not Beaverton going forward. But so we're drafting that letter now. It'll be optional. It's not mandatory, but because of the way that public meeting laws do, that we can't circulate it for comment. So if you'd like to sign on, I would be happy to send it around, and you can make that decision when you read it. But I think residents are going to have a hard time, or they're going to, if they get it without input from us, it's going to say increase to services. And as a mom that uses it, I would vote yes. If I voted yes and paid a 68% increase and then saw library services being cut, I would be very upset and don't understand why that happened. So it's going to be our responsibility to make sure voters have the information. We don't have to tell them yes or no. I'm not asking us to take a stance on supporting the library. That's going to be a personal decision, because the council's not going to vote as a body. But I just think that we have due diligence to our community to tell them what's happening. Is this you? Council Hartmeyer-Prig.
Okay, 2 things. There's a trunk or treat coming up. If anyone wants to join me, I'm going to decorate my trunk. I've never done one before, so. Yeah, Pride Beaverton on the 27th. No, I have my car. Your kids can visit my car. I'm not going to go pick up candy myself, but thank you. The other thing I just wanted to acknowledge and thank you, Mayor, and the other area mayors. I went to the League of Cities conference on Thursday, Friday, and it went to a breakout on sanctuary law. It was a packed house, standing room only, and the importance of our sanctuary law, and that the jurisdictions that are protecting their sanctuary laws and the courts are winning. And that was really encouraging to see, and to see how many people from across our state were interested in that, but also hearing from others how meaningful it was to see so many mayors come together and say, this is not just a Portland issue, this is an Oregon issue. We're looking out for one another. We're looking out for Oregonians. So it was really powerful to be with other counselors and city managers and whatnot through those breakouts. So, yeah, and it was the 100-year celebration. So, our other little nerdy thing that we do is we go to League of Cities conferences. So it was really great. And I think I saw various staff here and there at the conference as well. And so I just did want to thank our mayors and our local government. I was really touched by how many mayors were veterans. I didn't know that. And just that our region is standing, our state is standing in solidarity, right, to protect one another right now. And I think that was really felt, even with folks that you, like from communities that you might not have expected it, right? So it was really good moment last week.
I was shocked to see how many Republicans from across the state came into Portland. So that's hopeful to me that they could see through the narrative about Portland. So, all right, that's it. See you guys later.